Welcome to the premiere episode of Versus, RxMuscle's original TV programming that pits bodybuilder against bodybuilder. And today's battle royale, as we like to say it, is Dexter versus Big Ramy. That's right. They battled at the Olympia. Dexter beat Ramy there. They battled at Arnold Europe last weekend. One-on-one. They had the last call out, Big Ramy versus Dexter, and Dexter emerged victorious. A lot of people thought that was not a good decision. I'm here to analyze the call-outs, to analyze the one-on-one battle between those two guys, and to tell you what my thoughts are on who won the battle, who should have won, who did win, did I agree with the decision, and who might win this coming weekend at the Kuwait Pro, where we're going to see a rematch of rematches. So let's go, Johnny. Let's roll the tape, and let's watch some of the comparisons between Big Ramy and Dexter Jackson. Obviously, Dexter Jackson winning this show became the winningest bodybuilder of all time with 27 wins. And Big Ramy is probably, of the modern era, the biggest, but maybe of all time, the biggest bodybuilder to ever grace the stage at his height. He packs an enormous amount of muscle. He's over about 290 pounds here on stage. Dexter, who knows what he weighs? He probably says he weighs 230. He's probably about 227, something like that. But you could see this was a battle of battles. Now, obviously, Ramy packing an enormous amount of mass on his physique, but if you look at Dexter Jackson, and here's where Dexter shines. Dexter Jackson is deadly. He's deadly when he's in shape. At 2 weeks ago at the Mr. Olympia contest, I didn't think he brought that conditioning that we used to see from him. His lower abdomen was very, protruding a little bit. He didn't have the sharpness, the blade-like sharpness, dare I say, that we're used to seeing from him. But here, at the Arnold Europe, a week later, whatever happened, he dried himself out and he brought the look that he's known for, his trademark. And if you look at these shots, while Big Ramy is a lot bigger than Dexter, you see so much detail in Dexter's body that your eyes can't leave him. And you know what? He takes the judges' eyes off of anyone else and puts them on him. And you just want to see him move. You want to see where the next detail is. Johnny, if you could speed this up a little bit, it's a little slow. I want to just run through these poses a little faster. On the front lat spread, I have Ramy winning this pose. I don't know if there's many bodybuilders in the entire world who could beat Big Ramy on the front lat spread, maybe in the history of bodybuilding. Ronnie Coleman, Dorian Yates. I think that Ramy has got a very dominant front lat spread. The reason being is that his quads are just enormous, and when he hits that lat spread, you don't see any space between his arms because his lats are so big. Now, the side chest is a different pose. You would think Ramy has the advantage on this, but Dexter Jackson's got so much detail, especially in the ab area, pecs, delts, side leg. I give the side chest pose to Dexter Jackson here, even though you can make a good case that Ramy wins that. One of the problems I see with Ramy in this show is that while he's conditioned and he's huge, he's not the best that he can be. And the judges at this elite level, the judges like to hold people up to their potential best. Dexter's at his potential maximum here. It's amazing that he's able to look this good at 47 years old. Watch Dexter go through this pose. As you see him coming into that back double bicep, there's just so much detail available there. I mean, his glutes, his hamstrings, his lower back, his back. I mean, he doesn't look that much smaller compared to Ramy. Now, I see the camera angle's a little off. It's skewed in favor of Dexter a little bit here. So, we have to take that into account. But I don't think Big Ramy is as detailed and as grainy as he can be from behind here. Now, when you watch the lat spread, while Dexter is going to show more detail in this back lat spread, Ramy's back is enormous here. And watch this pose now, because backs win Olympias. We've seen it before. Ronnie Coleman had one of the best backs of all time. Dorian Yates had one of the best backs of all time. Lee Haney had one of the best backs of all time in his day. Probably one of the few Mr. Olympias that didn't have a great back was Arnold. Arnold had a good twisting back poses, but his lat spreads were not great. Look at Ramy's back now. I think you got to give the back lat spread to Ramy here just because of the size of his back. His conditioning is good enough to hold its own, but Dexter just doesn't have the width, that Ramy does, although the detail is there, all right? Now, as we move now to the side tricep pose, and you got to give Ramy credit because Ramy hasn't been doing this that long, and his posing poise on stage is really good. He's very comfortable in his body. Usually guys that are this big who have grown this fast have trouble presenting their physique. Ramy does not fit that category. He's very fluid on stage. And Dexter here, while he was having trouble at the Olympia pulling that stomach in, he pulls it in pretty well here. I think that Ramy, believe it or not, has better detail in the side leg on this pose. Dexter's having trouble controlling his midsection. So I could give Big Ramy the side tricep here at this show. And I think a lot of people, would think that's a Dexter Jackson pose, but I don't think so here because Dexter's not pulling the abs in. Now, we go to ab thigh. Now, look at that Ramy quad right there, shaking that quad. That is like a hunk of beef hanging off that Dexter could never match. I don't think anyone in this industry can match. We talked about Paul Quadzilla DeMeo having some of the best legs in the business. Big Ramy blows that away. Dexter's midsection hasn't been quite as good as it has been in the past over the last couple of years. I give Ramy, maybe we call it a tie on the ab thigh pose, just because of Dexter's detail. But this is a close pose. Now you'll see at the end of this. Now we go to most muscular. Ramy, obviously, you would think has the advantage with most muscular because he's the biggest guy up there, right? Most muscular. Let's see how much muscle you got. But as you'll see, Dexter's got so much freaking crazy detail on this shot, and he's so good at executing this shot that I think that Ramy gets beat here. Let's watch. I don't like the hands on hips for Ramy. I think Ramy should go right into that crab most muscular. I don't like when he has the hands on hips. I don't think his waist is small enough to showcase that shot. Look at Dexter hit the most muscular here. That's just crazy. That to me blows away Big Ramy. Even though Ramy's bigger, I give Dexter the most muscular pose here. Crazy detail. It's not always about the size. It's about what it looks like. And Dexter's got one of the best, most muscular crab shots in the business. If I were Ramy, I would work on that shot, and I would come out with that shot right off the bat. Now, unfortunately, for bodybuilders, shows are not determined by pose, type of analysis like we just did. As you look at the analysis, you probably say, well, Ramy won about half the poses and Dexter won half the poses. Now you have to go to the gut level. What do the judges see? Who's more polished? Who looks better? Who do people's eyes go to more? And at this particular show, now I wasn't there in person, but when I'm watching the videotape, I say Dexter Jackson. I say to myself, and believe me, I love big, freaky guys. If anything, I'm going to vote for Ramy if I have the opportunity to. But Dexter Jackson did his homework here. To me, the polish is there. The presentation is there. And I think that, once again, Ramy is still not his best. When he comes into his own by next year, and I know it's going to happen now that he's got this great relationship with Chris Aceto, they figured his body out. They know how to fill him out. I think with 5% more conditioning and more detail in that physique, no one beats Big Ramy in the entire world. He could be Mr. Olympia next year if he wants to. But I think he's still a year off. I think Dexter has him at this show, and I think the decision was a good one. Now the question is, who wins in Kuwait at the rematch? Ramy's in his own backyard. He's got to feel more comfortable. He's staying in his own house. Dexter is on the road now for more than 2 weeks. He went from Olympia all the way, and he lives in Jacksonville, Florida. He went to Olympia, then he went to Arnold Europe. Now he's in Kuwait. That's a lot of flying. He's in a foreign area. He doesn't have access to his food and his comforts, creature comforts. I think that Dexter's going to be, in a disadvantaged state. That doesn't mean anything because Dexter tends to get better the more shows he does. If Ramy comes in 5% tighter at this show in his backyard of Kuwait, and Dexter Jackson slips a little bit, slips backward from what he was last week, because it's hard to peak 100% 2 weeks in a row, Ramy could win this show. I think it was that close last week that if Ramy comes back better and Dexter's worse, even by a little bit, Ramy can sneak out the win here in Kuwait, especially since it's in his own backyard. Will Dexter come in worse? I don't think so. I think Dexter will bring a look that is comparable to what we saw last week, and I think he might snag the victory again, which would be an incredible string of 2 wins after that third place at the Mr. Olympia competition. And that just goes to show you why Dexter Jackson has to be considered one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time because of his consistency. Guys who show up, time and time again and always look great and just never disappear and have longevity in the sport are sometimes just as good as the guys who come out and make a huge impact and then disappear quickly. So Dexter's been here for a while. He's not going anywhere for the next couple of years. He will certainly cement his legacy and maybe set a record that never gets broken again as the most wins in bodybuilding. I'm positive he will get more than 30 wins before all is said and done with his career. You got to congratulate him for that. On that note, we won't know what happens, obviously, until this weekend takes place. But if I was a betting man, I would bet on Dexter Jackson for the win in Kuwait. No one wants to see Big Ramy win more than I do, and I know Chris Aceto's out there helping him out. Guys, stay tuned to all the coverage from this weekend's events exclusively on RxMuscle.com. We'll have contest pictures. Hopefully, Chris will have some wrap-ups out there. And I want to wish the best of luck to all the athletes out there. I know my guy, Akeem Williams, is out there doing the first big show of his life out in another country. So good luck out there, Akeem. And I got to say, Beta Badai, you did it VIP style. And hopefully next year we can get out there and cover the show for you. If I wasn't in the process of moving and with the baby, we'd probably be out there right now. But best of luck to everyone. And if you like the show, let us know in the comments and subscribe to the channel because we can do a lot more of these shows, these analysis shows. If this is something you guys like, let us know. For now, I'm Dave Palumbo with the first edition of Versus.